All right, today we're tackling something that really gets to the core of our need for connection. It's called autophobia, which is the fear of being alone.
Most of us actually look for a little alone time, right? A chance to just recharge. But what if being alone wasn't peaceful at all? What if it felt dangerous? For someone with autophobia, that's their reality, and we're going to dive into what that really means.
Okay, so first things first, let's really pin down what we're talking about when we say there's a real fear of being alone.
So the official name is autophobia, and the two words you really got to pay attention to here are intense and irrational. We're not just talking about feeling a bit lonely or, preferring to be around people. No, this is a full-on phobia, where the fear is just completely out of proportion to what's actually happening.
And this feeling, it can hit so fast. This isn't about being isolated for a week and getting cabin fever. We're talking about maybe just a few minutes alone, triggering this huge wave of anxiety. To the person feeling it, that threat feels 100% real, and it's happening right now.
But where does a fear like this even come from? It sounds so deep-seated. Well, let's get into the roots of it. Yeah, it's pretty complex, as you might imagine. A lot of times it's tied to past trauma, something like a really painful abandonment or a loss that basically teaches your brain to link being alone with danger. Or it could be a more straightforward fear, like what if something happens and no one is here to help? Sometimes it's a learned thing, where you become really dependent on others for your sense of security. And of course, it can also be tangled up with other things like general anxiety or panic disorder. So we've talked about the why, but what about the what? What does this actually feel like for someone, day to day?
Well, on the inside, it feels like intense anxiety, sometimes even a full-blown panic attack, the second they're alone. That feeling creates this constant need to have someone around for reassurance. And the result? You start doing everything you possibly can to avoid being alone. I mean, think about that. It literally shapes your entire life.
And this isn't just in your head, it's physical. Your body's fight or flight response just goes into overdrive. You're talking sweating, shaking, a racing heartbeat. It's a very real, very physical experience.
And here's why this matters so much. Think about the ripple effect. It can crush your sense of independence. It puts a ton of strain on relationships. I mean, imagine being the friend or family member who feels like they always have to be there. It just messes with your whole daily life. It's just a huge source of distress.
And this is a really big but, it is manageable. There is a way forward. So let's talk about how someone can start to get a handle on this and take back control.
Okay, so the approach usually has a few different parts. First up, you've got therapy. Something called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, works really well. It's all about changing those thought patterns, that if I'm alone, something bad will happen script. This is often paired with gradually and safely spending a little more time alone. Then number 2 is learning coping skills. Things like deep breathing, mindfulness, tools you can use in the moment to calm that anxiety down. And third, for some severe cases, medication can be a big help to manage the underlying anxiety, which makes the therapy part work even better.
So you go through all this. What's the end goal? What does getting better actually look like?
Honestly, the biggest takeaway here is hope. With the right support, it is absolutely possible to get to a place where being alone feels okay again, where it feels secure. The goal isn't to never feel lonely, because, hey, that's human. It's about turning solitude from something terrifying back into something that's just neutral, or maybe even peaceful. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about, right? We live in this world that's always connected, and we talk a lot about how bad loneliness is. But maybe this whole topic makes us flip the question. Instead of just fearing loneliness, how can we get better at seeing solitude as a skill, as something valuable, not something to be afraid of?